Hi, what's up guys? Welcome back again to Vanzy channel. As usual, today I'll share another list of playable games for you to play on your Android device. This time, we're talking about games that run smoothly on Gamehub or Gamefusion using devices with a Snapdragon 8 Elite chipset. All of the games on this list also support GamePads, and all gameplay uses Gamehub mods. You can also apply the settings to the original Gamefusion version. Okay guys, maybe that's all I can say in this intro, and let's get started. First, Under the Waves is a narrative-driven adventure game where you play as Sane, a professional diver struggling with grief while working at a techno-futuristic oil rig in the North Sea. This game is very playable to play on Gamefusion using this chipset. 2. Soulslinger Envoy of Death is a roguelite FPS where you play as a gunslinger in Limbo, tasked by the Grim Reaper to fight a cartel that harvests souls. Use the recommended drivers and DXVK suggestions below to make this game run smoothly. 3. The Dark Pictures Anthology, House of Ashes, is a survival horror game where a military unit searching for chemical weapons unearths an ancient Akkadian temple in the Arabian desert. By achieving 60 FPS performance, this game is highly recommended to be played on Gamefusion using this chipset. 4. No Rest for the Wicked is a challenging isometric action RPG, reminiscent of Souls-like games, developed by Moon Studios. You can definitely play this game well on Gamefusion, even though the performance doesn't reach 60 FPS. 5. Kingdom Come Deliverance is a realistic, open-world RPG set in 15th century Bohemia. The game focuses on a historically accurate medieval experience, lacking fantasy elements. This is one of the best games that can be played on this emulator, especially for Snapdragon 8 Elite users. 6. Turbo Overkill is a fun first-person shooter game. The Snapdragon 8 Elite is capable of running it on Gamefusion with impressive FPS, even at high resolutions. Use the recommended driver and DXVK settings below to run the game. 7. The game focuses on Reed's struggle between his newfound vampiric nature and his duties as a doctor, requiring him to feed on humans to survive and gain power while also trying to cure the city's deadly flu. Needless to say, this game also runs very well on Gamefusion. 8. Journey to the Savage Planet is a Metroidvania-style open-world exploration game. It boasts impressive graphics and is well worth checking out on Gamefusion, especially since it runs exceptionally well on the Snapdragon 8 Elite. 9. Grounded is a survival adventure game where players will gather resources, craft tools and weapons, build bases, and battle against various insects and spiders. Even though it is only played at 30 FPS, this game is very smooth and stable to run on this chipset, and even runs well at high resolutions. 10. There's no doubt that the Snapdragon 8 Elite chipset is the most powerful and best processor available today, and games are guaranteed to run smoothly and stably on Gamefusion. Use the recommended settings below to apply them to the Gamefusion settings menu. 11. As you can see, Dying Light is a fairly heavy game, even though it can sometimes be played on mid-range devices. But this game can be played very well on Snapdragon 8 Elite, and its FPS performance can reach 60 at high resolutions. 12. Just like before, WBE 2K23 runs very well, reaching nearly 60 FPS. Not only does it run well at HD resolution, but it also runs at high settings using this chipset. This is the best performance to date for an Android device powered by the Snapdragon 8 Elite. 13. Wanted Dead is a 2023 action game that blends third-person shooting and hack-and-slash combat. The game is known for its over-the-top violence, cyberpunk setting, and a story that combines elements of action, drama, and humor. This game also runs very well on Snapdragon 8 Elite in Gamefusion. 14. With a chipset as powerful as the Snapdragon 8 Elite, Remnant from the Ashes should run smoothly without any issues. Use the driver and DXVK recommendations below to avoid graphics bugs in gameplay, especially for those of you who enjoy high graphics. 15. Necromunda Hired Gun. The game takes place on the hive world of Necromunda, a lawless and brutal environment where gangs rule and survival is a constant struggle. This game is also very capable of being run by this processor with HD resolution without any problems. 16. Crash Bandicoot and Sane Trilogy is a collection of games remastered for modern consoles. The graphics are stunning, especially for PC Windows. As you can see, the game runs perfectly even at high resolutions on the Snapdragon 8 Elite. 17. Oddworld Soulstorm Enhanced Edition is a single-player, 2.5D side-scrolling action platformer and puzzle game. Soulstorm reimagines the plot of Abe's Exodus, expanding on the events after Abe's escape from Rupture Farms. This game is absolutely playable to play on this chipset with high graphics. 18. Forgive Me, Father. Players take on the role of either a priest or a journalist investigating a dark mystery in a 1920s-era town where supernatural events are unfolding. Not only is it smooth to play on Gamefusion, this game is also 100% support Gamepad. 19. Disaster Report 4 offers a unique blend of survival gameplay, moral decision-making, and exploration within a compelling natural disaster scenario. And this game also runs very well on Snapdragon 8 Elite, even capable of running at high graphics. Subnautica. The game focuses on survival, crafting, and uncovering the mysteries of the planet, particularly the reasons behind the crash of the player's ship, the Aurora. As you know, this game runs well on mid-range devices, including the Snapdragon 8 Elite. 21. Choo Choo Charles is a single-player horror game where you play as a train engineer, navigating an open-world island on a small, upgradable train. You can run this unique game on Gamefusion with varying FPS performance using this chipset. Next, Terminator Resistance. The game takes place during the Future War, a time glimpsed in the first two Terminator movies. As you can see, this game runs very well on the Snapdragon 8 Elite. I highly recommend playing it on Gamefusion. Next, Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. The game follows Ethan Winters, who receives a message from his missing wife, Mia, leading him to the Baker family's estate in Dulvey, Louisiana. This game boasts stunning graphics and a truly terrifying atmosphere. It now runs smoothly on this chipset and supports gamepads. Next, Tormented Souls is a survival horror game heavily inspired by classic titles like Resident Evil and Alone in the Dark. This game also runs very smoothly on Gamefusion, especially for those of you who have a powerful processor like the Snapdragon 8 Elite. Next, Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice. The game is notable for its immersive storytelling, atmospheric world, and its realistic portrayal of mental illness, specifically psychosis. Use the driver and DXVK recommendations as you can see below, and don't forget to use Proton too. 26. Quantum Break is an action-adventure game that blends third-person shooter gameplay with time manipulation mechanics and a story-driven narrative. This is one of the games that is highly recommended for you to play on Gamefusion, especially since the game runs very well on this chipset. Next, Final Fantasy. This is an open-world action RPG that's quite heavy on Gamefusion. Despite this, the Snapdragon 8 Elite is capable of running it quite well at high resolutions and settings. Furthermore, the game also supports gamepads for a seamless gaming experience. Next, Sackboy: A Big Adventure. It's a spin-off of the Little Big Planet series, starring Sackboy and must-save Craftworld from the villainous Vex and his topsy-turvy device, which threatens to turn the world into chaos. This game also runs very well on this chipset and get up to 60 FPS. Next, Shenmue 3. The game continues the story of Ryo Hazuki, a teenage martial artist seeking to avenge his father's death, now set in rural China. This is an open-world game that you might be interested in trying, and it's been running quite well on Gamefusion. Next, Trepang 2. The game features close-quarters melee combat, allowing for brutal takedowns and strategic engagements. If you like the game Fear, you might be interested in playing it, especially since this game can run at 60 FPS using this chipset. 31. Resident Evil 3 Remake is a survival horror game that I highly recommend playing on Gamefusion. This chipset can run this game smoothly without any issues. You can use the drivers and DXVK listed below. Next, Raft is an open-world survival game where players start stranded on a small raft in the ocean and must survive by gathering resources, crafting essential items, and building a sustainable floating home. This game also running very well on Gamefusion and support Gamepads. Next, Fallout 4 praised for its massive world, engaging story, and addictive gameplay loop. Critics lauded the game's atmosphere, sense of exploration, and the depth of its crafting and settlement systems. And this game is very playable to play on your Snapdragon 8 Elite. Next, Devil May Cry 5 is one of the most popular hack-and-slash action games on PC emulators, including Gamefusion. The game runs very well and stably on this chipset, reaching 60 FPS. Use driver and DXVK as recommended below. Next, Alone in the Dark. The game is set in the 1930s and revolves around investigating the mysterious Derceto mansion to uncover secrets surrounding Emily's uncle, Jeremy Hartwood. It's a reimagining of the original 1992 game and the 7th installment in the series. 36. Daymare 1994 Sandcastle. The game follows Special Agent Delilah Reyes, a member of the HADS unit, as she investigates a mysterious incident at the Groom Lake, Area 51 research facility. Not only does it run well, you can also use a gamepad in Gamefusion for this game. Next. In essence, Serious Sam Siberian Mayhem provides a hefty dose of the classic Serious Sam experience, with new challenges, settings, and enemies, all set against the backdrop of a Siberian winter. Use the special driver that I have provided below to run this game. Next, Kenna Bridge of Spirits is a game that offers beautiful visuals and engaging gameplay. It's still quite a heavy game, but with the Snapdragon 8 Elite chipset, it runs well even on high graphics. Please use driver and DXVK recommended below. Next, Baldur's Gate 3 is still not playable enough for you to play on Gamefusion. Even though the game is very smooth when played on this chipset, there are still graphical bugs that are quite annoying in the gameplay, even though they don't always occur. Next, Doom 2016 is known for its aggressive, fast-paced combat, requiring players to constantly move, dodge, and utilize a variety of powerful weapons. Not only the Snapdragon 8 Elite can play this game well, almost all mid-range devices are also capable of running it. 41. World War Z is a fast-paced zombie shooter that focuses on large-scale battles, strategic gameplay, and diverse locations, offering a unique experience compared to other zombie games. I recommended you to use the driver and DXVK below to run the game. Next, No Man's Sky is a vast, open-world space exploration and survival game where players explore a procedurally generated universe, discovering planets, creatures, and resources. This game is sure to run very smoothly when played on this chipset, with FPS performance reaching 60. Next, Silent Hill 2 Remake. Despite numerous changes and improvements to the visuals and gameplay, the game still has a lot of criticism. Despite all that, the game runs quite smoothly on this chipset, even if it only manages 30 FPS or less. Next, Mad Max is also one of the best open-world games and is highly recommended for you to play on Gamefusion. The game itself runs very well, reaching 60 FPS and supports Gamepads. You can use the drivers and DXVK as seen below. Final list. The Evil Within is a game with similar gameplay mechanics to Resident Evil. Fans of that game can try it out on Gamefusion. As you can see, the game runs smoothly on the Snapdragon 8 Elite without any issues. Alright guys, that's a list of games playable on Gamefusion or Gamehub using a Snapdragon 8 Elite processor. All of the games on this list support Gamepads and run at high-quality graphics. For more detailed settings per game, you can visit the source I've pinned in the comments to see the full settings. Okay guys, if you think this video useful, don't forget to share this video to your friends, and also don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Vanzy channel. I will see you in the next one. Bye guys!